Georgina Joy here with another survival tip about being at home full-time with your kids. Thanks to Eric for the first question in my video comments. Today I will talk a bit about screen use. Specifically, Eric asked about screen time with young children and other activities that may hold our little ones' attention with limited parental supervision. Now, when I think about screen use, the main word that comes to mind is balance. Now, balance can mean many things. Would it be enough to stand on a balance board or on one foot while playing video games? While doing this may mediate some of the negative aspects of screen use, like sitting with poor posture for extended periods of time. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. In these special circumstances, parents are being thrown into a situation that they are not accustomed to. Maybe you're trying to work from home. Maybe you're trying to maintain your sanity while staying inside, away from all other activities that normally occupy your kids' days. Before I launch into any piece of advice about screen use, let me emphasize the importance of maintaining peace and love in your homes. This season of isolation will eventually pass. We will return to our routines. Our normal coping mechanisms will once again be available to us. If your kids develop some undesirable attitudes or habits around screen use in this season, you will be able to reestablish healthier guidelines when we are through the current crisis. Ultimately, your peace in relating to your kids is more important than having anxiety about them getting too much screen time in this current situation. However, for this moment, I remember a wise word from my mother. She said, "I noticed that after you watched a lot of TV, you were grumpy, and you didn't treat me very nicely. Why would I let you do the thing that made you treat me that way? It only made sense to me to limit how much TV you watched, so we could have a more pleasant home." Sometimes our use of electronic options to pacify our kids results in them treating us poorly. We don't want that, right? So we need some strategies for promoting healthy screen use that leads to happier times in our homes. I mentioned earlier that balance could be a helpful concept for thinking about screen time. However, when I reflect on maintaining balance for screen use, I notice the anxiety related to that effort. Are they doing enough of this or that to balance the screen time? When I hear that phrase, "Is it enough?" I sit up and listen to what is speaking. Let's try to release our hold on the concern of being enough. We have many pressures and stresses in our lives. Today, our job is to maintain calm and connection in our homes. So, what can we say about screen time? Let's talk about variety. We all know the general recommendation to take regular breaks from the position of sitting in front of a screen doing our work. The same applies to our kids. Their brains and bodies need a break from the posture of sitting and watching or interacting with their electronic device. They need variety. What will work in your home? Could it be alternating 30 minutes on a screen, then 30 minutes in a more active option? Or possibly 1 hour screen followed by an hour of non-screen activity, like building with blocks, or coloring, or exercising, or reading? Some people create variety in this way by setting time blocks for screen use and for other stuff. Some people prefer to create variety by encouraging a rotation through a series of activities. For example, someone may set this pattern in place for their kids. First, an activity that requires movement. Next, an activity that requires creativity, and then some screen time. Or perhaps, first spend time with a person, like playing a game, or reading a book with mom or dad. Then spend time doing something with your body, like doing jumping jacks or push-ups. Then do something on your own, like coloring or reading. And then something on the screen. Sometimes rotating activities is more controllable than trying to manage set blocks of time in the day. Now, speaking of variety, we can also look to mix up the types of things that we're doing on the screen. Because think about it, a nature documentary is different than a shooter game, which is different than puzzles, which is different than some other learning activity, or chatting with friends. Variety of activities on the screen can also be healthy for our brains. And not to neglect the question about what else can occupy kids' attention when they're off the screen. I really like open-ended activities that offer creative options and are really easy to clean up. Things like building blocks or Legos, Hot Wheels cars, coloring, train tracks. And you say, yeah, we got all of those out. They're not interested. Well, what do we do in that case? Sometimes the presentation of an activity can make a big difference. Maybe the parents could pick out one thing and do it with their kid for a while, and then let the kid continue doing it independently. We can also pay attention to what they've created. We could put some music on while they're playing independently. We could notice when they're getting antsy or bored, and then introduce a next activity. So in terms of surviving this, I often think about long car rides or airplane trips. They do come to an end. When I traveled with young children, I always had a few new activities stashed in my bag to bring out halfway through the trip. One time it was just a pad of colorful Post-it notes, and we drew little pictures on it. We plastered them all over the tray table. To create novelty in our homes today, we don't have to go out and buy new toys for them. We can help them see their current toys in novel ways. Who knows? Maybe the creative outlet would be good for the parents too. So through it all, give yourself some grace. You love your kids, and they love you. This current situation is outside your regular routine. It's outside of your regular way of doing things. Spend some time together. Have fun. Be nice to each other. From my home to yours, may you find peace as you take your next step today.